What's up, guys? Welcome along to Inside the 10. I'm Jimmy English, and joining me is a man who is a former Notre Dame defensive back and indeed a former Las Vegas Raiders defensive back, Shaun Crawford. Shaun, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk, Notre Dame. I'm excited to talk, the trip over to Ireland and, just the excitement that's around Notre Dame football and then also just this upcoming season in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, let's definitely start there. I mean, obviously, that there's a massive buzz around this game, but it's unfortunately it's something that you missed out on during your time at Notre Dame. You were due to come over in 2020, but the pandemic put pay to that, so it's actually going to be your first time coming over.
Yeah, and obviously that year it was a lot of adjustments that had to be made, and honestly I was just grateful that we were able to complete that season, play a full season. There were some peers and some friends of mine who maybe only got to play half a game or half the season, and maybe didn't even get to play a season. And so for us, we were very fortunate enough to play a full season, and we were fortunate enough for Notre Dame to make those adjustments and the ACC to allow us to, join their conference and play a full season. But I was unfortunately not able to go to Ireland and play in the game. But, this time around, I actually am fortunate enough to be able to make the trip and then watch the Irish take on Navy. So this trip will probably definitely be a lot more fun for me. And, not having to worry about getting ready to play a football game and all the nerves and all the things that go along with that. But so this one will be I'll get to tour the city, go around and have fun and try out some of the Ireland beer.
But see, that's I was just going to say because you're not playing a game this time around, you'll actually be able to have a pint of Guinness.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm actually not that big of a beer drinker. So I think this would be the trip and the place to experience it for sure.
So you mentioned there the 2020 season for Notre Dame, obviously joining the ACC for football. Um, but for you especially, the 2020 season was fantastic because you were named the captain at the start of the season. Tell me about that and how that felt to be a Notre Dame football captain.
Honestly, it was surreal, especially just with the career that I had, battling several injuries
Yeah,
throughout or early on in my career. So my freshman year I had an ACL, sophomore year I had an Achilles, and then my senior year I had another ACL. And so being able just to battle through all those injuries, continue to come back, continue to fight, and then be rewarded, my final season, a captain of Notre Dame football, it was surreal. It was a dream come true. It made everything that I went through, it made everything worth it. And so, when you're in the middle of it and you're going through, the long days, the tough, training sessions, tough rehab sessions and things like that, and you ask yourself like, should I keep going, especially after all these injuries? Like, is it worth it to keep going? But when I was awarded captain by my teammates and coaches, everything just made sense. And you look at the long history of Notre Dame captains, and for my name to be up there in history, with legends
yeah.
and some of the greatest college football players ever, and even some that went on to be in the NFL and leave their mark in the NFL. And so to be able just to be a student athlete at Notre Dame itself is a tremendous honor, but then to also be a captain at Notre Dame is nothing compares to it.
I remember the Clemson game, and obviously that was a 7:30 kickoff in the States, so it was late here. And I stayed up till about 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the end of that game. And it was just so worth it because, we bet Clemson, we toppled Clemson, fans rushed the pitch. What was that atmosphere like in the stadium that night?
To be honest, if you were at that game or you probably just watching it on TV, you wouldn't have known that it was the COVID season or that there were restrictions on limited fans and the number of fans that could be in the stadium because from the moment the ball was kicked off, it was extremely loud. Both teams were juiced up. Fans were going at it, but it was just an incredible environment. And you talk about having to stay up till 4 a.m. Well, I'm glad that we ended up getting the W for you. I'm glad you stayed up and we got the win for you. But it was like for that, like for the COVID season and everything that happened, and like I said, us being able to play a full season and the ACC allowing us to travel to to away games and have home games and things like that. It was just the perfect setting. Trevor Lawrence didn't play a game, but it was I don't remember our rankings pre game, but I know it was a top five matchup. We were very excited. We last time we played Clemson, we lost to Clemson, and so this was an opportunity for us to get them at home. Our students, it was actually their senior night because it was the last game before the semester ended, and
Yeah,
so everyone in the stands was just like they were on edge. We were all excited, and so when we battled hard, it was a high scoring game. And being on the defensive side, I'm sorry that it was a high scoring game. I wish we played a lot better, and I wish we made a couple more stops in regulation, but getting to overtime and being able to close that game out and being on the field, after our offense scores and allowing us to go in the game on
yeah,
defense. It was, I think we sacked the quarterback to end the game and he just threw it up. But
mm,
once that happened and the game was over, it was like, oh, it was a breath because at Notre Dame, it's like, a lot of people say we couldn't win the big game and we couldn't do that. But for us, that was just a huge accomplishment. The students ran I think an entire stadium ran on the field. I don't know if it was just students, but that was also a surprise to us. And it's funny because as people are running onto the field, you want to celebrate with your teammates and everything, but then the students run on the field and it's like, oh snap, where's my mask? Where's my helmet? Let me put my helmet back on so I don't
yeah,
get sick or anything like that. But I mean, it was all worth it. And when we got into the locker room, it was just a ton of fun.
yeah. So you're coming back over in a couple of months' time for the game here. What capacity are you traveling in, Sean? Are you coming over as just a fan for a vacation, or are you coming over in terms of your Varsity House podcast to do a broadcast in Dublin?
So fortunately, I was able to connect with Executive Global Tours,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm going to be coming over with them along with some other Notre Dame, legends like Mike Golick, Ryan Grant, Brandon Wimbush, and the list goes on. But we'll be able to. I think we're getting there on the 21st, and we'll be staying there the week up to the game and traveling to
nice.
different sites in Ireland and meeting different people and playing on different golf courses. So very fortunate and thankful for Executive Global Tours for allowing us to have that
Yeah,
opportunity. But so I'll be around. I'll be traveling. I'll be a full on tourist the entire time and very excited, to see the Irish take the field on Saturday. And I'm sure and I'm really excited to see the stadium because I think Wisconsin was it Wisconsin and
yeah.
the
Wisconsin and Northwestern played there
okay.
last year. Yeah. So fun fact about that game, I don't know if you heard, it actually made the front page of ESPN, so you might have seen this. But during the game, the card machines went down, so nobody could pay for their drinks.
Oh
They just started throwing free beer out, so it got messy pretty quickly. Let me tell you that.
yeah, so hopefully the machines aren't they're still having some malfunctions and we can figure that out. But no, I'm excited. Like I said, and this is a great and that speaks to Notre Dame being able to because I this will be our supposed to be our third time. This will actually be our second time, but being able to put this on the schedule for multiple classes to be able to go over and
Yeah,
experience this. I mean, that's just something that Notre Dame offers, and I'm very excited just to see the tradition of Ireland and be able to connect with them. Notre Dame and Ireland being able to connect with each other. So I'm excited to be there an entire week, and I'll definitely be touring and seeing a bunch of different sites.
so after Notre Dame, you graduated, you went to the draft. Tell me about that process and joining the Raiders. What was that like to get a taste of professional football?
So my draft process was a little different just because it was following right after the COVID season. And so we were unable to have the NFL combine. We weren't really allowed to have meetings with
Yeah,
teams on like at their facilities. And so a lot of it was just like virtual. That's where Zoom picked up, that's where phone calls picked up, text messages, all those type of things. So as far as that end, it was a little bit different. I would say it's a little easier on my end, just because we didn't have to necessarily go train in front of coaches or go
yeah,
do interviews in front of coaches or anything like that. But the training process was fun. It was one of the only times, honestly, that I was just able to focus on training and not and it's a little different because when you're in off season and maybe you go home for a little break and you're training for your college season, you have something to look forward to. You know that I know come July, end of July, I'll be back at Notre Dame. I'll be getting ready for a college football season. I know the schedule. I know all the coaches. I know all my teammates. And so this was the first time that it was a little different, where you were training kind of blindly.
Yeah.
You were training for an opportunity. You didn't know if you were going to get an opportunity. You didn't know where the opportunity was going to be. And so at that point, you're just training for your dream. And so when you put it in that perspective, it's like this is this position I've always wanted, and so and it's right in front of you, and so it was a fun process. Like I said, a little different due to COVID and things like that, but definitely a fun process, and it was fun just because you got to train all day and you got to just have fun, watch TV, and just kick it. Honestly.
Sounds ideal. And how did you find the jump between playing collegiately in Notre Dame and then going to the NFL? What was that kind of gap like for you?
I would say the biggest difference would be definitely the locker room, honestly, because I feel like in college you understand that maybe if you don't play your first, second, or even third year, you'll still be a part. You should still be a part of the team,
Hmm.
and that where you kind of develop a brotherhood, and you really have time to get to know the people. You get to invest in people, and you become friends. You build relationships where maybe as an NFL it's just strictly business, and so when you come in, you're trying to take another guy's spot, and the locker room isn't and there's so much transactions in the NFL to where you don't really necessarily you want to get to know people, but you don't know if that person's going to be here tomorrow. You don't know if that person's going to be here a week, a year from now. So it's a little different of that aspect, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame I feel like prepared me very well to be able to play against some of the some of the top athletes around the country, and so playing and being in the meeting rooms and understanding the game of football, I feel like Notre Dame prepared me very well, and I was very comfortable on that end of things. But I would just say the locker room and just the brotherhood and how you go about things was a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So are you still are you still playing football? Are you still trying to, keep that NFL dream going? Or what's your kind of where are you at in your life now in terms of football?
Yeah, so in terms of football, I'm a free agent, so I'm like still available. But I just at the end of the day, it's kind of just like in the back of my mind. It's something that obviously I grew up loving, something that I'm very passionate about. I do understand like just with my injuries and everything that I've gone through, just being able to still play the game would be a little bit challenging for me. It's
Hmm.
something that I've thought long and hard about to where I would love to still play the game. I would love to, do continue my passion, but I also understand that there's other opportunities, and
Of
I'm
course.
excited. I'm excited to experience those other opportunities and explore things that are still connected to football, still connected to sports,
Yeah.
but still be able to have some freedom and enjoy my health while I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an interesting area because it can be hard for former athletes, particularly football players, to find their niche when they stop playing, find out what they want to do and their passion. Okay, what's next for me after football? But I think that's something you've really done quite well with the various projects you're working on. I believe you're coaching youth camps as well at the minute.
Yeah, so honestly, and it took a little while to figure out what I actually wanted to do, and I honestly think that where we had a lot of downtime during the COVID year, and as far as like watching sports, and a lot of things just weren't really going on, and so at that time, podcasts I feel like really picked up and was something that I really started to focus on because live sports weren't a thing at that time, so the only type of new type of content or centered around sports were podcasts, and so that caught my interest, and I actually ended up I was roommates with Ian Book my last season, and I ended up buying a camera, like buying all the equipment, and I was like, all right, let's start up like me and him, let's start a podcast. And the season started going on, and everything started happening. We just never even took it out of the box. But I fast forward to maybe like a year and a half later when I wasn't with the Raiders anymore and I was figuring out what I wanted to do, I thought back to that idea and I was like, okay, well, I still have this like network of, NFL friends, collegiate friends, and then also, coaches that are head coaches at different programs now. Let me figure out, if they would be willing to explore this with me. Let me figure out if they would be willing to, help me along this journey. And so I just started studying podcasting a little bit, and reached out to some guests, reached out to some of my old coaches, and they were more than willing to like help me and come on for the episode. And because before that, it was just an idea. It was something that I
Yeah.
wanted to do. And so having like their support, having their back, and really, help me transition into it because it was like I said, it was an idea, and I was like, I'm going to do 3 episodes with Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly, and Clark Lee, and if those episodes were bad, then I'll just stop. So they actually ended up being really good, and I ended up enjoying the conversations. I've never hosted anything before. So it was just all new to me. And so after those 3 episodes, I was like, okay, I kind of like this. And so
Yeah.
it's just kept going, kept interviewing people, and then I began to like the reactions that the audience or that the fans, the community got from the podcast, being able to being able to connect with an athlete or a public figure just a little bit more by hearing their
Yeah.
story the podcast authentically and organically. And so that kind of just got the ball rolling to where I wanted to create more experiences like that. And so, but more engaging and more maybe hands-on. And so that's kind of where the camp idea came from, and
Yeah.
some meet and greet, some live events, things like that. And so now we recently just hosted a camp in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from, and we was called it Local Legends. And so we had some of our Cleveland local legends come out to just help out and just be special guests. So we had the mayor of the city come out. We had Bernie Kosar, who's a Browns quarterback legend.
Yeah.
We had a few Browns players come out, and then
Okay.
also some NFL players who are from Cleveland, but also on different teams. So it was really just grabbing the local legends, the public figures in the community in the city of Cleveland, and allowing them to connect with the community. And so it was a free youth camp and everything right in the central downtown. So that's just trying to figure
So
out ways to
yeah.
connect.
Are you a Browns fan then, being from Cleveland?
I am a Browns fan for sure. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
well, we might have to fight then because I'm a diehard Steelers fan. So when you come to Ireland, we're trying not to have a disagreement about professional football. All right, we're both Notre Dame guys. So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, so kind of now I'm more so of a players guy.
Yeah,
Whoever comes on there, because we've had like Mika Fitzpatrick and then Chase Claypool when he was on the Steelers, they came on the podcast, and so any I'm a fan of all our podcast guests, no
yeah,
matter what team that they're on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned there, the likes of Marcus Freeman, who obviously has been straight up the line to head coach from defensive coordinator. 1 year, I think 1 year or 2 years as defensive coordinator, then kind of mainline to head coach. What do you make of Marcus Freeman's teams to date? Like, how do you kind of rank him among the? And I know it's early days still, but what kind of chance would you give him to get success with Notre Dame, to have success with Notre Dame?
Yeah, I would say I would just give him time. I think he's doing. First of all, I would just say he's doing a hell of a job. The players, for one, really like him. They really enjoy
Yeah,
his presence around around the facility. I think the Notre Dame community in campus really love him and everything that he's about. And so I actually didn't get to play for him. So as far as like his coaching style and coaching habits, I'm not too familiar with that.
okay,
But just from what I've heard from players, he's a player coach. There's conversation being had between players and coaches, and so there's always good dialogue is always a good thing. And so I'm excited to see what he does this year, honestly, just because I feel like, when he got brought on, we were with Clark Lee as our defensive coordinator
yeah,
for 4 years, I believe, 3 to 4, I would say 4 years. And we had time to really develop and really understand the scheme and start to really, mesh and find our roles in that scheme. And so now, with Marcus Freeman coming in, the defense changed. A lot of people, a lot of positions changed. A lot of strategy, a lot of scheme changed, and so that's tough for a defensive player who have maybe been in a different scheme for 3+
Yeah.
years or 2+ years, 4+ years to be able to change right off the bat. And so then when he gets hired as the head coach, they bring in another DC. I'm sure the scheme, the strategies change there again, and so there's been a lot of transactions at Notre Dame right now, even on the offensive side of the ball this past year. And so I think we just need time to coaches and players to settle in and start to get comfortable with the scheme, start to get comfortable with the coaches, and I think we'll start to our talent will start to show because. If you watch a little bit last year, like there could have been some a little bit more thinking going on and
Yeah.
things like that. And so and also the coaches got to get to know our players. And so I think both of those things take time. And I do think I think we have the administration that will give him time to find to make things work. So I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for him going forward. I think he's recruiting very well. I think he has great assistant coaches on both sides of the ball. And the talent, Notre Dame always has talent. So I'm excited to see, everything come together.
You mentioned talent there a good bit, and as a former, starter, as a former captain on the defense side of the ball, you're let's say you're viewing, the current defensive backfield through those eyes. Who stands out to you? Obviously, Benjamin Morrison in my eyes, that guy is going to the NFL after this season. That's just a done deal. He is a generational talent, along the likes of the other great Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton. That's who I'm trying to think of.
Mm-hmm.
Who stands out to you in that regard?
I actually played with a lot of the guys who are still there. Ben, I think Ben is a sophomore though. He's a true
Yeah,
sophomore. I think he'll have one more year after
yeah,
this.
yeah,
He'll be really good for his development. I think he had because he came on. I don't think he started in the beginning of the year, so he kind of came on late. And so I'm excited to see him have a full off season with some confidence, being able to now that he has a starting role because when you're coming in as a freshman, you just want to do everything right. You don't want to make mistakes, and you want to earn a spot on the field. And so now that he has that and he has confidence, he has experience.
yeah.
I think the sky's the limit. I'm really excited to see what he does this year. I'm excited to see Clarence Lewis bounce back as well.
Mm,
A guy that I played with, he played as a freshman as well, very talented. And so I'm very excited to see what he does. I think he might have a fire lit under him after not performing to the level that he's capable of. And so
yeah,
Cam Hart as well. I know he was injured last year towards the end of the season, didn't get to play much, but he has great length, he has great size, very athletic, transition from receiver to corner. So this is just another year in his development, another year like being comfortable at the position. So I think our corners, for one, should be locked down. I think we'll be able to play a lot of man, be able to blitz, get a lot of pressure. And I do think, some of our D linemen for sure are going to help us out with some turnovers on the back end. But I think DJ Brown, veteran guy, I think he's a great leader
yeah.
for the secondary, like, for a guy like Ben Morrison, who's young. And I think that's it. Like I said, I'm excited to see our DBs roaming around, playing a lot of man and getting their hands on the ball. So, mhm.
You made the point there a few minutes ago that it used to be the motto against Notre Dame that they couldn't win the big games. And, that kind of came back to haunt us a little bit in the first game of the season last year, where we got off to a hot start against Ohio State and then kind of cooled off and let them come back. I mean, I remember watching that game and being excited, going, "Holy shit, we might have a chance here to beat Ohio State." Ohio State come to South End week one. Um, you know, can Notre Dame beat them at home? Can they get that monkey off their back of not being able to win the big games?
Mhm. Yeah, it was actually that. So I actually went to the Ohio State game, and we talk about just like the understanding the defensive scheme and transitions and all that stuff. And I feel like we had the game until I think they threw a post. I don't remember the receiver for Ohio State that caught the ball, but we sent the safety blitz, and I think the nickel was outside leverage, and they threw a post, and it was just you can't give open, oh no, yeah, like an open middle to CJ Stroud and his receiver, pretty much, playing pitch and catch. So I thought we were good literally until that point. But like I said, like with the transitions on defense, like that was going to happen. Also, first game, new DC. Uh,
Yeah,
I think it was a young defensive back in the game as well. So hopefully we can we can brush up on those things and being able to play them. I want to say the fourth game of the season, or I want to say fourth game of the season, and it's at home. I'll be excited to see that game and see the outcome just because we'll be able to get the rust off our off our backs and all those things and be able to again the offense will be able to knock off all the kinks with the new OC. Our defense will be able to make plays. I know we lost some great guys on the defensive side of the ball, so I know I'm sure some young guys are ready to are hungry and ready to get their feet wet on the field, and so I'm excited. I think like I always think we have a chance no matter who we play. I do know Ohio State. I don't, they don't have C.J. Stroud at quarterback anymore, and so they also lost some great talent on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see what we do. I'm excited to see Sam come in. I'm excited to see all the new additions that we have, and at home under the lights, I would always give us a chance to win that
yeah,
game.
yeah, absolutely. So, in your opinion, how do you see the college football season shaking out this year? National championship game, January 2024. In your mind, who's there? Give me an honest answer now.
National championship.
I mean, Notre Dame goes 11-1. We have a shot to be in the playoff, I think.
We're our schedule, and this is kind of different. Like when during my time there, like when I was there, USC wasn't good.
Yeah,
Now USC is really good.
yeah,
So the schedule gets a little bit harder, and they also added Ohio State. So we got Ohio State, Clemson, USC, and then
yeah.
also, Stanford is always a tough game, and
Hmm.
I don't want to downplay any other team on the schedule, but 11-1. If we go 11-1, I think we would be in the like we would
Yeah,
win it because well, no matter. I think one of the losses would come from Ohio State, Clemson, or USC.
yeah,
And if we can win two out of those three, I think we'll be battle tested and we'll be. And I think by that point we'll have a good enough
yeah.
team to win the national title. But so my heart, I'll do my heart pick and I'll do my honest pick just because I'll say Notre Dame is in a national championship, and then I'll say trying to think of court. Ooh, I don't know.
LSU, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, it's got to be Georgia.
Yeah, I honestly saw a lot of hype around Penn State this year. I've
Okay,
been seeing a lot of hype around Penn State's roster, so I would say,
that's a bold call.
yeah. I mean, if Ohio State could get past Ohio State, I mean, if Penn State could get past Ohio State, they usually have a chance. But I would say Penn State, Notre Dame, maybe. But on like honestly, like what I really think, I do think LSU could get there. They're returning a lot. The season that they had last year with, I think they started spring ball with 35 scholarship players, and then to see them win the SEC West, Jaden Daniels is coming back. He's going to be even better. Jalen Neighbor is, one or Neighbors. I don't know if Malik Neighbors is one of the best, receivers in the country, and so I would say LSU has a great shot at making the a national championship, and then I could see them playing USC. So I could see USC and LSU. That's like my honest opinion.
Okay, okay. Well, there's definitely some interesting matchup potentials there, and I'm sure that the brackets will be in full force once the season kicks off. Look,
Mhm.
it's definitely going to be an exciting season. There's already a lot of hype. We're seeing the countdowns on a daily basis on social media, and it all starts in Dublin in a couple of months' time. So looking forward to having you over, Shaun, and catching up when you get here. Thank you so much for joining me, and all the best, and we'll talk soon.
Yo, thank you for having me. Enjoyed the conversation. Excited to meet you and excited to get over there. Go Irish.
Thanks, Shaun. Take care.